Whoever this reading is for, there is this emotional cycle, this wound that keeps coming up for you. Emotionally, this energy, it is very dangerous for you because it really brings you down. It really calls forth your fears. I feel like these are fears that you've had from childhood. This is a fear of being vulnerable, of being unprotected. It's also like this thing of like, there's something that just, it can come back around and kind of make you feel like you're crazy. Like you're trying to force something to happen that is never going to happen. Something that, it's like you could just be a perfectly reasonable person. You know, you have your routines, you have the things that you do. You're very disciplined, you're very focused. And you really, a lot of times you're so good at like forcing yourself out of your feelings and doing what you need to do regardless of your feelings. But there's just this particular energy and this, I feel like this is like a childhood wound. This could be a past life wound. It's a very deep wound, like deep in your psyche, and it affects, it's like it's in your code. This shit is almost in your DNA. This emotional trigger that always comes back around. And so like I was saying, you could be very responsible normally, but there's something about this that just pulls you back into this very immature, almost primal, terrified state. Now let's talk about who you are, right? Because that's what this reading is about. It's about remembering who the fuck you are. You might have this deep childhood wound, this trigger, this pain, this primal, terrifying thing that pulls you into a irritating version of yourself, because this is something you very much want to have grown out of. But the fact is, 99% of you has grown out of this thing. So there's something that you just have zero tolerance for it. So you could be blowing it out of proportion. But it's something about blowing this thing out of proportion is making you smaller. Because if we're dealing with percentages, right? And you're 99% that bitch and then 1% triggered as fuck. If you focus on the triggered as fuck part because you don't want to be triggered, right? Because you're like, I'm that bitch. Why the fuck am I triggered? You get triggered in that 1%. You're magnifying that 1% because you're harping on it. So now that 1% is like 50%. So what happens is you go down from being 99% that bitch to being 50% that bitch, which is not true at all because you are 99% that bitch. So it's something about making sure that you are putting something in its proper mental and emotional state. And I feel like you're just tired because normally you're very good at that. You're very good. I keep coming back to this. You're very good at like ignoring your feelings. And I don't mean that in a unhealthy way. I mean that in a disciplined way. Like you do what you have to do and it does not matter how you feel. You're like your own coach. You're your own disciplinarian. You're your own parent. You're parenting yourself and you're making yourself do what you have to do, right? But there's just this one part of you that is very unruly. It refuses to be reparented because it's like, this is the part of you that can't reparent yourself because you're still a child. There is like this deep childhood wound, this fear, this apparition. I don't know what this shit is, but whatever this is fucking with you, you know? So this is an opportunity for you to grow up that last 1%. This irritation, this pain, this trigger is calling you forward into being 100% that bitch. And the way that you do that is you just can't care about reality that much. You can't care about any circumstance that contradicts the circumstance that you have decided to exist in as a master manifester, as a creator of your reality. This is an opportunity for you to step fully into the version of you that you are, that you say you are, that you really mostly are, except for the small part of you that still gets triggered by this other thing. And I think it might be an abandonment wound. It's something like that. But there's a way where you kind of forget that you are a grown-up woman or man that you are someone who has sacrificed, who has paid the cost to stand in the position that you stand in. It's like somebody's trying to unqualify you or disqualify you when you're already qualified. And maybe that qualification is not yet apparent. You know, maybe you don't quite yet see the fullness of, you know, the work that you've been putting in. But it's just like that analogy that I was saying with the 99% that bitch and the 1% that scared little kid. Sometimes it's the same way with our manifestations where, you know, they're 99% there, but they're not the full 100% there. So you feel a little bit lost. But that 1% is such a small thing. If you could just be patient a little bit longer, and part of ushering that 1% along that's missing is not paying attention to anything that would say that you don't have it yet. Does that make any sense? It's like there's something here about you needing to ignore reality and keep your mental state balanced, because that's the most important thing, is how you feel and the way that you're thinking, the way that you're maintaining your self perspective, your idea about yourself, your self-image. That has to be unshakable. In anything, like once you have your self-image set in your head, I am this, I am that, like the way that you have decided that you want your life to be, anything that really gets in your face and negates that, you just have to simply ignore it. You can't even pour that much emotion into it and argue with it and say, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And, you know, how dare you tell me that I'm not? Because to do that, like I said, it turns that 1% into 50%, and it shrinks you from 99% to 50%. So you stand in your full 100% and you say, fuck you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. There's something that has tried to really come for your peace and disturb your mentality, your energy, your emotion. And I feel that you should question it. That's what this is saying. This is saying, like, this is a choice right now that you're making. This is a decision that you have to make to either stand firm in what you know to be true and feel how that makes you feel and enjoy the fact that that makes you feel good, or allow somebody else or some other information to come in and scramble all the shit that you've worked so hard to accomplish. So it's like you gotta quit fucking with them people, places, and things that make you doubt yourself. We're not doubting ourselves in 2026, at least not in the second half anyway. Fuck all that. And it's whatever this energy is very familiar with that 1% of you that feels like a child. So this could be somebody from your life, like coming back around, somebody who has known you since childhood, or just somebody that has some sort of effect on you, some effect on little you. And you gotta remember that you a grown motherfucker. You ain't a little nothing. Can't nobody punk you. Can't nobody tell you about yourself. Can't nobody challenge you. Like, no, this is your life. This is your world. And it's not up to you to prove shit to anybody else. It's up to you to maintain your idea, your emotions, and your energy about yourself and for yourself. Period. So it's time to put that shit to bed. Whatever that is, it's time to dead that. Cause this thing, it expects you to be like, oh yeah, and just fall apart, you know, in that familiarity of like that insecurity. Like somebody just expects you to fall apart. And this could be the person that triggered you. Like maybe they triggered you on purpose. Maybe they're like, yeah, you think you that bitch, but it's just this one thing that I just know will fuck with you. And you cannot let that shit happen. You cannot let that shit fuck with you. You just have to look at that 1% and say, fuck you. You don't know me anymore. We won't even be around the same places no more. Cause I'm grown. Yeah, something wants you to wash that confidence off. It wants you to wash that independence off. It wants you to wash that self-love off. They don't like the smell of it. And you gotta stop fucking with people that do you like that. So this was actually an amazing opportunity, whatever this was. It was an opportunity for you to hold that motherfucking note while you sing the song about who you are. While you sing your own name, you hold that note and you do not let your voice waver. No matter who's singing over you, singing under you, walking around you, bothering you, trying to poke you, you know who you are, and you do not waver from that. All right, I'm going to leave it there. If you listen to the reading this far, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe and give me a comment for the algorithm.